One day, a man was drowning in the water, and a boat came by and said, "Do you need any help?" He said, "No, thank you, God will save me." Then another boat came by, said, "Do you need any help?" And he said, "No, thank you, God will save me." Then he drowned and went to heaven. And he said, "God, why didn't you save me?" And God said, "I sent you two big boats, you dummy."
We have so many people in this country waiting on God to come save them, as if they don't have God-given abilities that makes them capable of saving themselves. For their sake, if God ever appears in this country as a man with the intentions of uplifting us out of these troubled waters, I pray he appears as a white man. Because Lord knows if he looks like me or you, our people aren't following him anywhere. I'm going to channel my inner Carter G. Woodson here, because there's a lot of miseducated Negroes out there. He said that if you can control the way a man thinks, you don't have to worry about his actions. Well, it's evident they're not worried about our actions. Why would they be? We're politically non-existent. The Republicans offer nothing that benefits us because they know we're going to vote Democrat. The Democrats offer nothing that benefits us because they know we're going to vote Democrat. We won't channel our money through our own communities. Hell, we won't even stop spending money with the companies that openly mock us. They're not afraid of a revolt coming from our end. Every time there's an injustice that happens to one of us, we peacefully protest them to death. And if that does just so happen to spill over, we destroy things that are in our own neighborhoods. Why do we do that? There's not a single group of people on the planet that peacefully protested their way to independence, freedom, or meaningful change. But for some reason, we really believe that it does something. We used to respond differently. Brother Shatelko, someone whose questions, thought experiments, and disagreements inspire a good deal of content for me, gifted me a book earlier this year by Kelly Carter Jackson. It's titled, "We Refuse." In this book, she details many instances throughout history where we as a people rebelled in one way or the other. Whether that was by saying, "We're not going anywhere, we're going to fight," which is my position, or by saying, "Fuck this shit, I'm out," his position. Either way, both are natural responses to conflict. I've been in a couple life-threatening situations. There are only two instinctual actions, fight or flight. It's certainly not march and chant. The brutality that Black Americans continually face at the hands of law enforcement today can be attributed directly to the lack of meaningful action in the aftermath of these issues. There has to be consequences to deter undesired actions. But there are a lot of cowards in our communities. No, don't turn it off. We have to acknowledge this. And I don't call them cowards because they disagree with my take. No, they're entitled to that. They're cowards because even behind a screen name and avatar, they don't have the courage to type a word in defense of their people, even when the truth is evident, yet alone raise their voices and speak. We're scared. We've seen image after image of Black leader gunned down in their attempts to liberate our people. And those images, along with what I'm going to speak about next, keep any real fight that exists in us suppressed. You know who doesn't have that problem? White Americans. And I'll speak more about this in depth in the next video, but I'm not done. I forget what I was watching, and I don't want to attribute the information to the wrong platform. But not too long ago, I heard someone say that if not for the Haitian Revolution, the US would be a third of its size because the Louisiana Purchase would have never happened. And respectfully, I disagree. It just would have taken longer and had a lot more casualties. But there's enough history to safely determine that US expansion to the Pacific was inevitable, whether it was by purchase or other means. But the reason why our response today is much different than it was back then is because ever since school integration, someone else has controlled the way we think. Every January since kindergarten, we read the same paraphrased "I Have a Dream" speech to celebrate Martin Luther King's legacy, as if that was the only speech he gave, while they highlighted his nonviolent approach and told us it was exemplary of how we all should respond to conflict. And we ate it up, as if nonviolent ain't get a bullet through his flesh. Didn't take all of his breath, so they suffocated the rest. The only reason that man was in your textbook is because the other Black leaders talked and moved in a much more terrifying way. But they couldn't stand him either. Martin's campaign kept us docile then, and his legacy was used to keep us even more docile now. But we gotta go deeper, because that explains why we move the way we move today. But it doesn't explain why so many followed the idea then. See, even with God giving us the ability to do for ourselves, he still sent a number of vessels our way. Harriet Tubman, Marcus Garvey, A. Philip Randolph, Malcolm X, Ella Baker, the Black Panther Party. Those are just some of the most notable. Not 2 boats, but numerous mighty ships, capable of not only pulling us out the water, but transporting us anywhere we wanted to be, or so we thought. It's said that Malcolm's biggest crowd was the 400 to 500 people in attendance when he died. Marcus Garvey spoke in front of 25,000. That's less than 10% of the 260,000 that watched Martin speak in Washington. Those leaders put forth an effort to advance our people with a do-for-self agenda. So if we really wanted to do something about the conditions that we were in, we had the leadership. Why didn't they have the following? It's simple. The reason those people and organizations weren't able to free us mentally and subsequently physically is because where they were trying to lead us was simply not where we wanted to go. We had no interest in building our own nation in Africa. We had no interest in investing in our own communities in America. We had no interest in organizing our labor across the board. We had no interest in being self-sufficient on any land. We only had interest in one thing. As Carter G. Woodson said about the Negro in 1933, they are so anxious to have everything the white man has, even if it's harmful. This is the reason why Martin had the biggest following of the notable leaders. He was the only one leading us where we wanted to be, which was as close as humanly possible to equality with the white man. It's why we fought for integration. The right to sit at their lunch counters, the right to use their restrooms, the right to send our children to school with their children at their schools. And it's not like there wasn't a prominent voice telling us otherwise, warning us what would happen over time. Oh no, Malcolm was pretty loud about this. We sank that ship. Now look at us. In the water, weak as ever, gasping for air, waiting for God to come save us. And it's not like God has abandoned us. He's still sending help. Steamships, riverboats, paddle boats, anything that floats to get you out that water. The question is, do you recognize it as a vessel? And more importantly, is that vessel going where you want to be? Did you recognize Kevin Samuels as someone sent to get you out that water? Nah? The future of black families hanging on by a thread. And y'all think that man's ascension was by accident? Or was learning what you needed to be to build a healthy black family, not the path that you wanted to be on? It makes sense. It explains why the women refused the message and why the men misinterpreted it. What about Nip Hussle? Was he a vessel? Oh, he a rapper, huh? If you could listen to that man speak and label him as a rapper afterwards, it tells me everything I need to know about you. And I know there are going to be some people who disagree, especially with that last take, because they don't recognize that somebody can be great in present time. Yeah, they think you have to read about someone in a history book in order for them to qualify as a great person. Now, we have vessels out here floating around us daily. God can use anybody to affect someone else. But if you can't recognize them as being sent for that purpose, how you gonna get out that water? And I don't consider myself none of that. Not a ship, not a boat, not a float. I'm not even the door that Jack put Rose on while he froze to death. I'm sitting on the decks of Carter G. Woodson, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, telling you that you need to come over here and come up on deck with me. Because if you don't, you bound to drizzle. And that may be your alternative. What 50 Cent say? Get rich or die trying? But it's funny how everybody wanted to be on a Titanic till it went down. Then everybody wanted to be in a lifeboat.